We are introduced to Tomoki Kanata, who finds himself in a dire predicament after mistakenly going on a date with someone mentally unstable. However, his troubles persist in his next life, where he awakens to the unsettling sight of an aged unsightly goblin in front of him. Feeling confused, he wakes up surrounded by a bunch of weird-looking green babies. The elder goblin, who's like the boss, gives him a new name, Gobkichi, and shoves a fat maggot in his mouth. The next day, Gob realizes he's just as ugly as the other goblins. He's bummed out about losing his handsome human face. On the third day he notices that goblins grow up faster than humans. Still bald, but at least he can talk and move around again. Not great, but he decides to roll with it and make the best of his new life. By the fourth day the elder goblin is tired of taking care of them. He tells them they're on their own for food now. Gob isn't thrilled about eating maggots, but hey, it's food. When they leave the cave, Gob sees a beautiful world he's never seen before. He meets another goblin named Goakichi who's not too bright but good at hunting. They team up to find food. Their first hunt is a rabbit. Gob tricks it and they manage to catch it. But Goakichi gets greedy over the bunny, so Gob puts him in his place by showing him who is in charge by beating him up. After putting Goakichi in his place, Gob starts prepping the rabbit for dinner. He notices the rabbit's horn and thinks it could make a good weapon. Suddenly he gets a weird message in his head, but before he can figure it out, Kichi wakes up and wants his share of meat. Gob shares and they have a good meal. On the fifth day they continue hunting and Gob uses the rabbit horn as a weapon. He gets another message in his head but still doesn't understand it. Later when he eats some meat his eyes start glowing blue and he learns he can escape from danger, a skill he got from the rabbit. He remembers he had a rare ability in his past life but now it seems reset except for this one skill. Despite losing all the other abilities he had acquired, it's fortunate that he retained at least one skill. He's content with the way things turned out because there are many monsters in the forest that he can consume to gain strength. By the sixth day, Gob's already impressing a girl with hair. She joins them and is amazed by their success in catching horned rabbits in the forest and happily agrees to join their hunt. On the seventh day it rains too much so they have to cancel their hunt. Gob doesn't have much else to do so he decides to check what they have in storage in hopes of making a new weapon, but as he goes to check he gets surprised and we learn that they keep human women in order to multiply. While working on his weapon the oldest goblin approaches him and sees that he is motivated, wonders if he is able to see his level by touching his head, and we see that his level is 86 and mentions to him that if he reaches the level 100 he will be able to evolve into a more advanced life form, and we learn that only one of 1000 can do that. The old goblin tells him that the youngsters from the village will return soon and then he will be able to see what an evolved hobgoblin looks like, and we see him super excited for the prey they will be bringing. The following day the weather cleared up, prompting Gobo to join the other two for a hunting expedition. Despite being only a week old their teamwork was remarkable. Jia provided backup, Gobo served as their mid-range attacker and Goishi took the lead. This formation led them to secure a large haul of meat which brought tears to their eyes due to its thickness and juiciness. On the subsequent day they continued hunting, but on the 11th day, they mistakenly ventured into an unknown cave where they encountered a massive swarm of vampire bats. Despite attempting to flee they were outpaced. Goa, Kichi, and Gobo decided to confront the bats, initially overwhelmed until Gobo utilized the evil eye skill he had acquired, freezing the bats in place. With the bats immobilized they were able to eliminate them all, later feasting on their corpses. Gobo acquired new skills from consuming the bat meat, including echolocation and vampiric enhancement. As they feasted like royalty they were observed by some of the other goblins who, being too unintelligent to hunt successfully themselves, were starving. That night, in their frustration, they attempted to take out their anger on Gabero, convinced that he was the one with the problem, not them. They believed that if they exerted as much effort into hunting as he did they wouldn't be hungry. However, they underestimated Gabero's heightened senses and he retaliated when they attacked. In the scuffle one of the goblins ended up dead due to Gabero's miscalculated use of his venom skill. Despite intending to merely teach them a lesson, Gabero was unmoved by the fatality. Nevertheless, Jia intervened, showing mercy even to those who had attacked her beloved Gobo. The next day, they set out to hunt once more, planning a coordinated attack on an unsuspecting orc. They blinded it with a rock, then rushed in, knocking it back with a pickaxe blow. Subsequently they disabled its fingers with another rock, immobilized its knees with a club, and finally Gob delivered the fatal blows to its head. After enjoying the orc's meat they found themselves with plenty left over. Gob decides to bring the remaining food to the others, and when they arrive there he tells them to eat, but they are completely surprised and asks him if it's okay. They start on eating the food he provided, like my dog who hasn't eaten for about 1 hour. Gob then starts wondering if something has changed in him, since in the previous life he didn't care about anyone. Later at night he sees a notification on his head telling him if he wants to evolve, and he just pressed yes and went back to sleep since he is tired. The next when he wakes he sees that his body and face has evolved and he realizes that he looks the same before reincarnation. Guskichi also wakes up and we see that he has also evolved. The girl with hair is surprised and so happy about their evolution, and the old man is so surprised because they have evolved so much in just a month. Guskichi is curious to see how strong he has gotten and rivals Gob in a duel. Then we see the two of them fighting with each other. At first we see Guskichi in the lead, but with his experience Gob manages to beat him in the duel and lets him know that in terms of power he has the edge, and he hears some wolf sounds, realizing it may be trouble. He calls for Gammy, who was hiding nearby to spy on them, tells her that she should go get the crossbow they made earlier because they will need it soon. Wolves are chasing a bunch of rabbits down the hill. Once they have killed their prey, they target an unsuspecting orc. The orc tries to run for its life, but the wolves chase it down and tear it to pieces. Gobo and Goakichi watch this and think the wolves will be a perfect opponent to test their strength. Gu signals to Jia to start firing the crossbow, and once the leader wolf is taken down, Gobo and Goakichi rush in to finish off the wolves. Without their leader the wolves' teamwork is gone, so they are easily defeated. Afterward only the leader wolf remains, but it too eventually succumbs to its wounds. Gobo gains extra skills by taking a bite out of the wolf. Gu takes the dead wolves back to the cave and tells the other goblins they are free to eat as much as they want, but they must learn to catch their own food from now on. The goblins, lacking confidence, beg Gobo to teach them how to hunt, and he agrees to train them. This earns him respect and solidifies his leadership among the goblins. He is determined to lead his comrades and continue gaining new skills for his goal. On day 17, Gob rouses Jia from his nap to relay an incident. All the human women they had confined in the basement came to the realization that Goblin Slayer wasn't coming to rescue them. Instead of resigning themselves to a lifetime as breeding slaves, they chose to end their lives by poison. On the 26th day we observe the goblins undergoing training led by Gob. During this time he also consumed any formidable adversaries he encountered there by acquiring numerous abilities. They notice some men approaching, and as Gob prepares to confront them he is halted by an old man who informs him that they are their raiders known as the fathers of his generation. They gather together, and Gob notices that the repugnant goblins have captured 5 beautiful women for breeding. He requests permission from the leader to take care of them, but the leader becomes enraged and demands to know who he is. Gob's people and leaders prepare to fight, but 2 girls intervene, urging them to cease hostilities. Gob wonders about their identities, and the elder reveals them to be Hubsato and the mage Hobse. The 2 girls propose that the leaders engage in a duel, with the victor determining the village's fate. They agree, and our protagonist swiftly defeats their leader, surprising everyone. Gob is elated to have learned how to produce spider silk from the demon spider, and he assumes leadership of the group thereafter. He sends the 5 women to the basement, ensuring their safety, and offers to escort them back to their village when the opportunity arises. One of the women asks what he desires from them, and he informs her that he seeks only human knowledge. It is later revealed that they were part of a traveling party when the goblins attacked, resulting in the massacre of all the men except for the 5 women. After a few days pass, the women seem to be in better spirits despite their circumstances, although it may just be a way of coping. Through spending time with them, Gob learns that humans in this world don't evolve in the same way as monsters, but they can take on various roles. One of the women with red hair appears to be a new adventurer, albeit not particularly strong as a warrior, so Gob considers including her in goblin training later. Speaking of training, Gob decides to involve all the older goblins regardless of age, and he's prepared to discipline them if necessary. Over the next few days Gu focuses on group exercises to teach the goblins the new rules he has established despite resistance from the former leader. On a rainy day Gu's detection skill alerts him to goblins approaching the women, prompting him to confront them about their intentions. Despite having previously discussed the rules with them, Gu finds it necessary to enforce consequences for their disobedience. The women wake up to the sound of Gob dealing with the insubordinate goblins, causing fear among them. With assistance from Gumo, Gob takes the tied-up goblins outside for a demonstration. That night Gob punishes the rule breakers, ensuring that everyone understands the consequences of disobedience. The following day, hunting resumes as usual, with the group facing a challenging task ahead. The tough hide of the Torn makes it challenging to penetrate, but Gobo utilizes his spider silk to ensnare it, rendering it immobile. With the creature immobilized, both he and Goakichi target its vulnerable spots and dispatch it relatively easily. After defeating the Torn, Gu and the others consume its meat, and he acquires several new skills, including one called Triple Strike. That night as Gobo rested in bed, the red-haired human approached him and joined him, though nothing inappropriate occurred, likely due to her lingering fear from the previous night's events. However, by morning GY becomes jealous and joins Gu in his bed. In other developments, Go and Gob, who were tasked with carrying equipment, have also evolved due to their manual labor, making them relevant to the plot. The goblin training has been organized into different units, with Kiki overseeing the armored units, Jia managing the ranged units, and Hob leading the regular fighters. With Go's evolution, she now oversees the training of support goblins. Gob delegates goblin training to appointed captains while he ventures deep into the forest to hunt formidable prey. During his hunt, he spots another trick horn from a distance. Taking advantage of the element of surprise, decides to utilize a magic skill he had previously acquired, and once his attack hits the trayer that they had so much trouble dealing earlier was easily destroyed in a split second by his attack. After getting too confident with the win, he decides to go deeper into northern woods, and he gets confronted by a red giant bear, and then he remembers that the old goblin warned them since young to never go to the northern woods since there is a dangerous bear. He decides not to run away like the other people, so he decides to take the reed bear on and fight it and eat it so he can gain even more skills. He activates his demise magic, preparing to unleash everything he has against the bear. Meanwhile, back at the cave, Goo grows concerned as she hasn't seen Gobo all day, and neither has anyone else since he left their training session that morning. Despite the lack of worry from the others, Gobo's strength may not be enough to save him if he gets into trouble. The bear manages to dodge his attacks, even losing an arm in the process, yet remaining as dangerous as ever. Goo realizes that even with his refined scales armor skill, Gobo won't withstand the bear's claw strikes, prompting him to resolve to kill the bear as quickly as possible. However, even after striking the bear in the skull with an axe, it continues to endure, forcing Gobo to retreat and try a different approach. He attempts to trap the bear with spider webs, but it breaks free. The bear then unleashes a wave of fire at Gobo, setting the forest ablaze. Despite the intense heat, Gobo survives and begins to heal his arm while considering his options. Determined to take down the fire-breathing bear, Gobo baits it into launching another fire blast and counters it with water magic. He charges forward and stabs his sword into the bear's mouth, assuming it will be a fatal wound. However, the bear retaliates, severely injuring Gobo. Gobo remains alive and determined. He charges back in, engaging in a fierce clash with the bear, resulting in the loss of his arm. Despite his injuries, Gobo manages to bite the bear's claw, gaining 2 new abilities before passing out from his wounds. Upon waking up, he discovers he has evolved into a rare ogre class, shocking the other goblins upon his return. Gia scolds him for causing them to worry, while Gia collapses in pain from attempting to kick him. Gobo has become an ogre and the 2 girls keep on following him non-stop, but before he addresses that he wants to get a new pair of clothes, and as he enters the storage room the women's are frightened because they don't recognize who he is, but after he shows his skills as proof of his identity they calm down a bit. One of the human girls examines a heavily damaged axe, seeming happy to fix it. While Gobo is present, she informs him that she made a knife out of a magic stone and would like him to check it out. Gobo is impressed by all her hard work, so he gives her a pat on the head, which she loves. However, the redhead girl and another girl hate it, as they are jealous that Gobo is giving another girl his attention. Gobo then goes over to the twins to see how they are doing, but the work they have to do is a bit much for just the 2 of them to handle. They ask Goo if they can get a few extra hands to help, and since they asked, Gobo decides that he can tell a couple of the goblin girls to come help. The twins are happy to hear it, but even Goo is amazed at how quickly they started liking goblins despite having their entire family killed less than a week ago. He jokes that they would make great wives and the girls don't seem opposed to the idea, but the redhead and another girl certainly are. Next he goes to check on the green-haired girl who has been busy making potions. He takes a look at one of the vials and can tell it is poison, which the girl doesn't deny. She had made it for protection and was initially planning to wipe out all the goblins by poisoning the food. However, she learned that there were trustworthy goblins like him, so she doesn't intend to use it anymore. The following day Gob realized that he couldn't engage in his usual afternoon sparring session because his newfound tremendous strength nearly harmed his sparring partners even when he held back. Kichi takes the defeat particularly hard and decides to go hunting alone. Gob worries about him but believes that some time alone might be beneficial for Kichi. The remainder of the day passed with everyone sticking to their usual routines. Goo finally had a chance to relax, spending time sewing next to Hamzy. Despite losing an arm in his encounter with a red bear, it hasn't slowed him down much thanks to his slime skill. However, he expresses his desire to retrieve his book from Hobie, who ignores him and continues reading. The next day, while Gobo was casually having lunch, Go rushes to him with an injured carbuncle in her arms. Goo attempts to heal the carbuncle, but it has lost a lot of blood, so he decides to ask the alchemist to make something to help her. After the treatment, the carbuncle wakes up confused about her situation and the strangers around her. They explain everything to her and she expresses gratitude for saving her life, introducing herself as Returner. She reveals that she was attacked by humans recently who are after the valuable gemstone on her forehead worth approximately 1 billion gold coins. She pleads with Gobo to help her fend off the adventurers pursuing her, as she won't survive much longer. Returner is an artificial carbuncle created by a legendary wizard long ago with the purpose of guarding the treasure of said wizard. However, During the attack the core that keeps her alive was heavily damaged, so there's no way she'll survive much longer at this rate. Her master held a major grudge against humans while he was alive, so even in death he would rather let his legendary treasures go to a bunch of goblins than let humans get their hands on them. Therefore if Gobo helps her get rid of those adventurers, she'll gladly hand over all the contents of the treasury to him. Seeing this as a golden opportunity, Gu is not going to let it slip through his fingers so easily. He calls for everyone to gather around and tells them that they will be going to the treasury today to chase away some humans. He asks the blacksmith girl if she has the spirit stone knife she was talking about the other day, and she gives it to him. He doesn't normally use a knife, but he thinks it would be better than going in empty-handed if his goal is to intimidate them. The goblin squad heads into the treasury that Returner talked about, and once inside Gu asks Kichi and the others to hide first so he could try to negotiate with the humans. He walks around looking for the adventurers on his own, but then those same adventurers corner him out of nowhere. They grumble amongst themselves about having to deal with an ogre as well now, but they decide to get rid of it as quickly as possible. An assassin tries to go in for a stealthy kill, but Gu sees it coming a mile away and is able to block the strike with his bare hand. The men are taken completely by surprise and he confronts them, stating that their actions, killing the inhabitants without invitation and robbing the place, amount to attempted murder and robbery. Despite his assertion that he's willing to spare their lives as a gesture of goodwill, they react angrily and rush at him intent on killing him. They initiate the attack, but their strikes are so feeble that he effortlessly dodges them. Despite this, he offers them a chance to retreat before things escalate. Unfortunately, humans have a reputation for inexplicably abandoning reason when it's most needed. Even though it's abundantly clear that Gobo outmatches them, they persist in their assault until he's compelled to take action. The realization begins to dawn on the adventurers that they've made a grave mistake in challenging Gobo, but by then it's too late. Gobo employs his earth magic to immobilize them and signals for the others to join in subduing them. After overpowering the adventurers, they strip them of their belongings and expel them. Gob decides to consume all the loot, acquiring the abilities of the items in the process. Now equipped with the skill to summon an item box capable of storing over 100,000 items, Gob fulfills his part of the deal. Returner guides Gu and the others to the treasure chamber where her master the great wizard Velvet breathed his last among his impressive belongings. Returner reveals that Velvet was adept at communicating with spirits, which allowed him to amass a vast collection of spirit stones. With her mission complete, Returner expresses gratitude to Gobo and his companions before vanishing, leaving behind her head gem, which Gu consumes. After a moment of silence in her honor, they begin scavenging the treasure room for anything of value. But before they left, Gobo felt bad about leaving the body out in the open like this. So he decides it would be best if he burned it, and as he does so, the body turns to ash, leaving behind a gauntlet which Gobo doesn't hesitate to put on. The gauntlet seems to be a legendary magic item, so once he equips it on his lost arm, it attaches itself to him and replaces his missing arm. The arm has some really cool features, including the ability to rotate as well as produce poison and strings, but most importantly it can function like a regular hand as well. The next day Gu spent a lot of time assessing all the gear they got from the treasury, considering it was collected by a legendary wizard. Everything is top of the line and powerful. So the following day, Gu distributed the magic items to the 15 hog goblins among the group. He kept the vermilion spear as well as a legendary magic bracelet for himself. In total he now has 3 legendary magic items all to himself. The characters continue to level up, and Rot explores the forest further, consuming a golden spider and a crystal deer to gain their abilities. He encounters a massive tree and encounters a drought known to tempt men for nourishment. Despite struggling, Rot eventually gives in, receiving the drought's blessing. Returning to camp, he finds the girls ignoring him, puzzled by their behavior. Spannel explains they're jealous due to kiss marks on his neck from the drought. Mio, seeing this, also expresses her feelings and kisses him, making him blush from happiness. The goblin girl gets jealous and climbs up to him, leading to a surprising reaction from the other girls saying they all want to be with him.